So in other words, now the game plan has adapted. And what they thought was going to happen during Biden and Kamala, that they would take out a lot of my generation and older, clear the deck, turned out the bioweapon wasn't fully tunable. And guess what happened?
We took out the wrong demographic.
They took you out. They didn't take...
Not me, I didn't get that shit. But yeah, I got you.
But you understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
And how do I want you to think about this? Before COVID begins in 2019, we get this guy from Harvard University arrested at the airport, caught with 21 vials of nanobat technology. His name's Charles Lieber. Everybody heard about it in the United States, but nobody ever actually thought about what was going on. Two guys from China who worked in Wuhan gets arrested with him. They take the 21 vials away. He's the expert in wideband technology. This is all the stuff that you hear about with the big tech guys in Silicon Valley.
I want to get into the semiconductor stuff.
Right. So what happens? Once this guy gets arrested, they realize that China wants to steal this technology.
Right.
That was what they were going to use to tune the bioweapon to take us out. They had to redeploy and put that stuff in Ukraine because they had to protect China from stealing this technology. So guess what happens now? How can I tell you? Because this does sound like conspiracy theory. I'll give you that 100%. How do we know that there's some data point that everybody's missing? You know that every single vaccine maker, except one, Pfizer, was ready to deploy the COVID jab. Operation Warp Speed comes out. Trump gets told about it. Who wasn't ready? Pfizer. So what does Pfizer decide to do? They go downstairs 3 floors to their genetic department and they find SV40. They use SV40 to design their jab because they're late to the game. And what do they then do? They tell their scientists to use a molecular tool to take the evidence of SV40 out, and then they present a clean version to the FDA and they get approved. Now,
And SV40 is the thing that causes that crazy epithelioma turbo cancers.
no, well, SV40 is what we got in the Qatar event during FDR's term in polio.
The guy that injected his grandchildren.
That's Osher. That's later.
Okay.
But this is the story that goes from FDR all the way up to this point in time. So I want you to think critically now from first principles. Tell me how a monkey virus that shows up in 1951 through 1959 now shows up in COVID vaccines that are supposed to be new and improved 75 years later. And Pfizer tries to take it out so you don't see it. That's why there's 2 legal definitions for BioNTech and for the Pfizer jab.
I don't know how you extract malice from that. I mean,
it's pure malice.
what's the official story? I don't know. What is it?
The official story is they wanted to kill people.
Well, that's not what they're saying in mainstream media, right? So
You don't have to worry about the saying part. That's the cool.
I'm just curious. Like, what? I hear what you're saying,
But the story breaks.
Yeah.
So in 2021, I'm in Clubhouse, the Bitcoin room.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, I said, look, I just did a documentary with Robert Malone, who's an inventor, co-inventor of the mRNA technology, and Robert McCullough, who's been famous for all the stuff he's done.
We've both been on here,
And guess what I do? I don't talk about the science at all. I talk about one thing. You can go back and watch this. There's 2 patents for Pfizer. I said, there's something nefarious going on here. And I don't tell anybody why I'm making this a big deal in this documentary. Because you heard all the things that I learned in my life in the Danny Jones podcast about SV40 and all that. I had a sneaking suspicion in 2020 that because there was 2 legal definitions, that SV40 was going to be used in somebody's jab. And the most likely candidate was Pfizer.
Yeah.
So what did I tell everybody in Bitcoin Clubhouse? Don't take the jab, and especially don't take the Pfizer jab.